Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the budget meeting. If you will, we'll start out with a moment of silent prayer and then we'll have a pledge of allegiance to the flag. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Miller.
Mr. Chairman, how would you like to proceed? We have passed out a list to each commissioner that outlines department capital outlay requests, personnel requests, public school requests, special appropriations. Maybe it would be best if we went down these lists and the commissioners discuss these items and we move forward from there.
Right.
The first request you have is from information technology. The first capital request you have is from information technology. Total capital outlay request is $124,650 to create a revolving computer replacement schedule. First year is 75 PCs, 50 monitors, 5 laptops and 5 desk spares. An EMS fiber upgrade, additional hardware replacements, contracted services to total $124,650.
That was included in.
That was all of those items were included in the budget.
I have a question before we get deep in on all these different issues. How much COVID money is actually in the budget covering expenditures that once the COVID money expires, revenues will have to be found to replace that lost money that we no longer have to pay for? In other words, how many vehicles, positions, ongoing expenses are in this budget versus what we're going to have to continue to pay for after the COVID money's gone?
So that's an interesting question. And it's an interesting question because currently in the budget, we have $3,188,563 in revenue replacement, which in reality is the ARPA dollars allocated. On average, we tend to appropriate $1.9 million, $1,880,547.50 in fund balance. This year at current, we have zero fund balance applied to the budget. So year after year, we return money to fund balance. Very seldom do we ever actually use the fund balance that we appropriate. So just this year alone, we're returning $827,327 to fund balance. And that's just from lapsed salaries alone. So that doesn't include the benefits associated with those. It doesn't include the longevity. It doesn't include FICA. It doesn't include a lot of those things that you're talking about. So, so a lot of counties, they create what they consider a plug in the budget. And the appropriated fund balance is usually the plug that they put in the balance. Plug is a number that they put in the balance and appropriate for fund balance to balance the budget. Most counties understand that a lot of that money from fund balance will never be used, just like it is in our county. I think Rockingham uses about $2.5 million every year as their plug from fund balance. A lot of smaller counties don't do that. They budget bare bones minimum. And I see the value in doing that both ways. There's definitely a mindset behind doing it both ways. So considering that we usually appropriate about $1.9 million and never use it, and actually return money on top of the $1.9 million that we appropriate. And we're appropriating $3,188,563 this year. Those dollars aren't applied specifically to reoccurring expenses. Those dollars are applied to both reoccurring expenses and the capital expenditures. I think if you look at your worksheet, you've got about 900, turn one page. You got about $938,000, $930,000 worth of capital requests this year. Those requests are not going to come every year at that large amount. So,
Well, the one off of that in information technology, that's a revolving situation. That's going to continue every year from now on, or at least the next 4 years. So that is one that will have to be covered, right?
well, theoretically, yes.
So,
But at any point in time that the board chooses not to do that, you know, just because this board says, yes, we're going to cover it with this amount of money and whatever, doesn't obligate the next board or the board after that or the board after that to be able to do
let
that.
me put it like this. You said that over $3 million, 3.2 and 1.9 is what you usually have. You still got like what, 1.2, 1.3 million dollars in extra COVID money that's in this budget that we're spending that will not be there next year. So any positions that are added or vehicles that are bought on a lease, we're going to have to pay for them. Plus, there may not be the same capital expenditures coming through next year, but there will be more undoubtedly in other areas. I am concerned about overspending versus the inflation that all of our citizens are facing, and also the possibility of a recession coming in. We've already got a tax increase that's going to have to be implemented to start paying for the new high school. I noticed that Alamance County, they cut their tax rate this year. But we're not doing that. We're spending more than we normally spend, and we're in uncertain economic times. What happens when any of the things go sideways and we have to go back and raise taxes on the people in this county? That's not going to go over very well.
And I understand that that's a theoretical argument, and it, in a lot of ways, it's true. However, Alamance has probably had a revaluation of their county since their last fiscal year. And because of that reval, they were able to cut their taxes, their tax rate. I don't know what their revenue neutral rate was, but I imagine they cut it back to revenue neutral, or maybe not all the way back to revenue.
I know there's 65, there's what, 72?
Mhm.
So
And they get about $800,000 for a 1 penny tax increase. We get about $146,000 for a 1 cent tax increase.
Right.
So when they raise their taxes 1 cent, so $800,000 times whatever their tax rate is, completely dwarfs our tax rate and the $146,000 per penny that we would get.
The size of their budget completely dwarfs ours as well.
It
Not
absolutely
much bigger
does.
area that they're covering. We can go back and forth on this all night, but well, you can have the floor next, Mr. Striker.
Just keep yakking, would you?
I'll be so glad when you're gone. Be so glad.
You'll leave me.
Yes, sir. Anyway, the thing is, I don't want to put the county citizens in a position where there's going to be a tax increase coming up on them in the middle of bad economic times. And that's my reserve in all this. So with that, we can go forward.
I don't think that's a value way to look at the budget. And I think we all need to have a similar mindset and think about the residents when we talk about the budget and when we talk about the impact on our residents with the tax rate. I agree with you 100%. And Mr. Chairman, just out of respect for the people that we have in attendance, we do have our county attorney with us today. I know that was one of the items that you wish to discuss, and you wanted to add a closed session to speak with our county attorney. It may be better, maybe time may be spent better if we go into that conversation to begin with, rather than have our county attorney wade through all of this with us.
It's fine with me.
Okay. If it suits the board.
I think there was some questions on whether we wanted to put him on retainer or not. And I guess this would be the time for y'all to ask him questions or for us to decide what we're gonna do about this.
So once again, I'll just reiterate, I think what our county attorney's told you before. If it's questions about performance, then that's a closed session item. If it's questions or comments about the contract, that's not a closed session item. Is that correct, Brian?
I think that's basically correct. I mean, you do have some leeway to talk about terms of employment for public officials in closed session, but my agreement's out there and the terms are out there. So I'm comfortable having an open session conversation about the terms outlined in the contract. If you'd like to talk with me about performance, that's certainly something you could go into closed session to do if you so choose. So the manager has it right as usual.
I think at one time there was some questions about the contract.
And it was discussed last meeting. I don't think there's anything extra to be added to it at this point.
Anybody else, any other commissioner? Well, I guess not, Mr. Burr.
Okay. Well, again, if anything comes up, I'm always happy to have a conversation about the proposed contract. Again, whether we go with the traditional model we've had for a number of years or we move to this more flat fee retainer, it's within your discretion, and I'm open to either option.
Right,
I will note there'd be a slight increase in fees if we went to the traditional agreement that we've had in place. Right now, my monthly retainer on that is $3,500 a month, and it's $185 an hour for every hour after 16. My proposal, if you wanted to stay with the same arrangement, would be to go up $250 a month in the retainer. So that would be $3,750, and then increase the hourly rate from $185 to $200. Just to give you some perspective, my hourly rate for my private clients is $350 an hour. So it still would reflect a significant, what I call local government discount, although I don't offer any other local governments I work with quite a steep discount, but I'm willing to do that for Caswell if you like the option, the more traditional option that we've had over the years. Obviously, the flat fee retainer has the benefit of taking most of that work and putting it into the usual monthly fee. So if there are no further questions, I know you have a full agenda, and I'll just stop. And Mr. Manager, unless you need me for something else, sign off.
Mr. Chairman, do we need him?
If there's no, anybody have any more questions? There's no more questions?
Hold on, I heard him say something about
Mr. Jeffries has a question.
Yeah, I heard him say something about $300 an hour.
Yes, my normal hourly rate, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That was my normally private hourly rate is $350 an hour. That's what my private clients pay me.
That's not what we pay.
No,
No, not even close. I was just giving a little bit of a comparison.
well, but I know I heard 300. I can hear pretty good.
Yeah, don't choke on that number. We're not going anywhere close to that.
Thank you, Mr. Fairman.
All right. Good night, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies.
Okay. Okay, so back to information technology and capital outlay requests. So as you'll see on the spreadsheet you've been given, there's approved by the board and amount approved. As we move through here, we'll fill in those amounts and go from there.
I have no
Yes.
problem.
I guess we need, do y'all want to go through each item?
What is additional hardware replacement?
That would be like switches, cabling, modems. Smaller pieces of equipment.
So he has a 4-year plan.
Yes, a 4-year plan.
The 4-year plan will upgrade everything we've got in the county IT wise.
That's correct.
Will he have to turn around after 4 years? We all know computers are obsolete almost before you turn them on.
Yeah, so there's about a 3 to 4 year life expectancy on a computer, or useful life expectancy. So it's very possible that this will be an ongoing expense.
So he and we should be wanting to be active versus reactive. Is that what this plan is telling us?
Yes. This is trying to keep our local government employees up to date and virus-free with the technology that will work for them and work for the government. Interface with other technologies that we may need to implement later on.
Do you remember last meeting, I asked the question about leasing versus purchasing?
Yes, I do, and we've looked at that. Leasing computers overall is more, it seems to be more expensive than buying them outright. A 3 or 4 year lease on a computer, you're going to pay about $1,500 more than you would per computer if you just bought the computer. So, and at the end of that lease, you know, the computer there again is 3 to 4 years old. It's reached the end of its useful life expectancy. So it really holds no value at that point in time. So we would still recommend purchasing the computers rather than leasing them.
But in Lisa, would you have a technology man to upkeep it? Would to go with the lease?
No, not unless you hired an outside firm to come in and do it.
Answer my question. Thank you.
Any more questions on that technology?
I recommend we go ahead and approve those amounts.
So we're gonna vote on each one of these?
Commissioners,
Why don't we wait till the end, and if we need to pick something apart, we'll pick it apart, and then we can vote on what we want to vote on.
so next is the maintenance budget. It's $273,000 capital outlay.
And that's the same that's in the book.
Yes,
Yeah.
Do we really need the parking lot paved? That gets bigger. We don't have a whole lot going on over there.
well, it's getting to the point to where some of the conditions around the building are unsafe. And in my opinion, we do need to pay some attention to Guilford Mills.
Any more questions on maintenance budget?
Yeah, what's the contingency down there, 24,915?
So a lot of times in the maintenance budget, we do see a contingency. The contingency is for the one-offs, the unforeseen things that maintenance may run into throughout the year. And it could be anything from a busted water pipe to whatever the case may be. In the life of a maintenance technician, it could be anything. A roof repair that needs to be done, busted water pipe.
Wall repair, R&D.
Yeah, wall repair, such as we saw with the flooding at the Register of Deeds. It could be a number of things.
Okay.
So if you're ready, we'll move on to the sheriff's $190,877 capital outlay. Includes the patrol vehicles lease program, the upfit of patrol vehicles, and the armored vests.
The 8 vehicles in this lease program, that keeps us on track for rotation, right?
That's correct.
What are these 8 vehicles being used for? If there's 28 already on lease, you've got 16 deputies on patrol for the various shifts with 2 supervisors, that's 18 vehicles. Where are the rest of the vehicles being used?
We also have investigators. You also have the command structure, the sergeant or the captains and majors within the department. Obviously, you've got the sheriff. You've got narcotics.
I see the narcotics, I see the supervisors, but I'll be speaking about the elephant in the room, the big wheels are in an office that are going back and forth. They need a brand new county vehicle to go back and forth to work on if they're going to be in the office all day long. They're not out on patrol.
Well, here again, that would have been a wonderful question to ask the sheriff.
That's what the number of vehicles were out on patrol. That's where my numbers from the
And-
16 and 2 come from.
Right.
And I realize they got narcotics officers, and we talked about adding another one, which by the way, we've got funding to pay for that, but I'm trying to figure out where the rest of these vehicles are necessary at. I don't want to put the officer in the room on blast if he doesn't want to answer the question, but could you elaborate on that? Or would you rather not touch it?
I don't think that's. I know the sheriff's department set out with a plan many years ago to get into the rotation schedule. To rotate these cars out to where the county didn't have to pay, hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to buy new cars, and to where the cars that they did have were reliable. I think that's where we are now. We're finishing up that last leg of this program. So
Because we are in our third year, right?
that's correct.
Which means some of those vehicles are gonna go out. And they're still, I didn't bring that list with me. There's still patrol vehicles that we have not gotten out of service that need to be out of service. Some of them, I believe, we still own. Oops, sorry.
How long were the leases for the first 3-year cycle that has been approved for those 28 vehicles? How long is that lease? A 4-year lease? 5
Yes,
years?
4.
4. So that first year lease has not even come back around to being up.
No, and that's why you run it in a cycle. It's a 4-year cycle. So this finishes out the cycle.
But still, the math don't add up. 28 versus 18, and you throw in the narcotics officers and the supervisors, you're still not plateauing that 28 cars. I'm just questioning out loud what the value of spending that kind of money is. The armored vest, I see that all day long. Vehicles, I have questions about that. We're going to the next one. I don't want to hold it all up talking about that one tonight.
So the next one is 911 communications, complete flooring in offices. The next capital outlay request we have is from EMS, new furniture from EMS space. The next capital outlay request we have is for Farmer Lake, shelter for a county boat. The next capital outlay we have is for the health department for $85,754 for a covered portico outside of the health department to help facilitate drive-through clinics. The next category you see on your sheet is emergency telephone service for $100,000. That is state money, it's not county money. It's provided from the 911 fund from the state. The next category we have is CATS transportation for $129,379 for new radio, antenna, cable mounts, replace onboard security cameras, and new scheduling billing software. Once again, this is a enterprise fund.
Melissa, you have potential grant funding.
Yes.
Has any of it been applied for?
Yes, all of it has.
All of it's been applied for?
The, where the 90,000 is for the billing software, that's gonna be where we apply for a grant for ARPA funds, and we know that we're getting that money, we just are waiting on the agreements, so that will be covered at 100%. And, the radios And the security cameras, we have already put in for the funding, or should be hearing any time now, and I feel certain they'll be approved. And they will be covered 90%. Both of those.
So essentially, most of that will not be county
It will
dollars.
be no
it will be
county
grant-
dollars, no county
Grant
dollars.
monies, okay.
Yeah, whatever our match is, will come out of our enterprise fund.
So that $129,000 total is basically covered by.
Yeah, it's no county dollars.
Go back up to the health department a minute, Brian. Where is the, whatever you called it, gonna be on the EMS side or on the parking lot sheriff side?
I believe it's going to be on the EMS side.
Okay. All the way from the front door, all the way out, the sidewalk to the
parking lot.
parking lot?
The parking lot will be extended to where you can drive through.
Okay.
So moving on to personnel requests.
Before you go there, just to make sure, I can't keep up with all the pages in all these items were in the budget or not.
Melissa, can you answer that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, the other ones, I'm sorry.
I can't keep up.
The health department construction was in the budget. I
The
just didn't- I just didn't see it.
$85,000 was.
Okay,
Yes.
was, okay. I didn't. I failed on that.
I thought
Yes,
most
it
of
was all in
was,
there.
but I just can't keep up with it.
So you're ready to move on to personnel requests? All right, personnel requests, register of deeds, part-time deputy register of deeds. The amount $34,790. Includes benefits.
Do we say what we want to say now, yay or nay?
It would be helpful if you were going to say no to it as we go through it.
I'm not, I don't see the purpose in that one.
No,
No,
Nope. Okay. Full-time help desk administrative, 45,202 with benefits included. For information technology, the salary is $31,200.
Was included in the budget to begin with, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
This one gave me a lot of angst, as y'all probably know. I've called a couple of mayors when I'm a former mayor. The one that told me that he had, when he was mayor, he's been he's in the the NC House now. He had 6 in IT in his city. And I don't have false teeth, but they almost fell out. 6 in a town. My opinion only, if IT gentleman has a 4-year plan, I'm not sure how you can carry it out with 2 after talking with the people that I've talked with. So my thought process is yes on the IT guy.
From talking to department heads, I'm saying yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I say no.
Moving on to the sheriff's department, full-time first sergeant for patrol narcotics, $45,980. Full-time deputy SRO to cover Parks and Rec, library from 12 PM to 7 PM.
Thought that was gonna be a part-time position.
When we added up the hours that were needed, Parks and Rec starts open gym at 12 o'clock. The library closes at 7 o'clock. And 7 hours, it only made sense to, if you're going to approve it, to budget it as a full-time position.
Yes.
The full-time position for narcotics, that one, did you ever get any feedback on whether or not the grant, not the grant, but the opioid settlement money coming in? Is that gonna be able to cover that or close to it?
Commissioner Dickerson, I thought all of you would have received this probably about the opioid monies that they were saying we're gonna get each year. And the first year, we're gonna get $136,000, and then 74,000 the next year, 89,000, 92,000, 57,000.
There's my copy.
So that should cover, if that's how we're gonna pay for that, that should cover it for the next, however many years you want to go with it.
What was
Is
that?
there stipulations on it?
There are, and that's my concern. I've reached out to the NCACC and the PGRC. I'm not exactly sure that that's one of the uses that will be approved for that. I think we can probably work within some guidelines to make it, to get to where it's approved. But I'm not sure that it's clear-cut approved uses. The funding definitely will be enough to cover the position.
So if we go with the narcotics agent and the SRO, can we talk to the sheriff to see if we can get him to, especially since we're funding this narcotics agent, see if we can get him to just send somebody by the library a couple of times in the afternoon from the 3 o'clock schedule, have them drop by there and have them go by Parks and Recs and not have to hire an SRO just particularly to do that.
I think it sounds like a good idea.
I would be willing to fund the narcotics agent, but I would also, if I done that, I would want the sheriff to be able to go by and take care of the library and Parks and Recs.
Yeah, I don't believe it's necessitates full-time. They go by there on occasion, making a presence, being there for a little bit would suffice.
Commissioners, I believe if you were to go in that direction, I believe adding a little bit of part-time money to the sheriff's budget or overtime money, I think could probably get you there with some of the SROs that are going to be employed for the school system. I think having them work a little bit of overtime after work can probably have the same effect.
It'll work for me.
It's okay with me.
I'm good with that. So we're gonna fund the full-time NARC and not the full-time library person. Is that correct?
That's
Is that what we're saying?
That's my
My thoughts. Okay.
Full-time adult social worker for DSS.
All right, in our
No, go ahead.
in our conversation with her at the last meeting, she acknowledged she had 6 vacancies. I would be not for this particular place, and if she could find a social worker, use one of those 6 empty spots in salary that she has for that social worker, and not give another full-time salary that would
Just set there.
just sit there. That'd be 7 open positions she would essentially have. So I'm not for full-time DSS.
In other words, she can use her lap salaries on the other side. So
What happened for people, what happened, you know, we did, she got 6 months after the go. He was working overtime that very night, talking about going to some outside firms to hire somebody, which is very expensive to feel, because you know, the rent workers, right? There's no one to tell, like I was. So these 6 vacancies, not that, you know, she needed these 6.
I didn't say she didn't need them. I feel like if they're vacant, they've been vacant. I'm not sure she's gonna be able to fill those 6, much less another one for the 7th. That's the tough part today. Not that she doesn't need them, it's finding who will do it, number one. And moving there.
And I think if we let her use the lap salaries for the one person that she wants to hire, or however she wants to do it, then if something changes and 6 people suddenly come in and apply for this job and really want them, then they need to come back and talk to the board.
We don't want to talk, we don't make a promise here. If she gets this, these people to come back and still need these people that we only gonna pay half of the salary. They pays out half. Right. So we don't want to come up and say we come back and still behind and say, you know, we didn't. That's
I agree with what Vernon Massengill said and Rick McVeigh. I think that they've got 6 vacancies, and I don't see adding this to their payroll.
So just so I make sure I understand this, you're not opposed to her hiring a person to fill this role, but she needs to stay within the current budget she has.
What's her total employee number right now? 56?
Thereabouts.
Okay, she needs to stay within that time frame, that personnel frame.
So this is what we said, then we don't need to hire this extra person. She actually said that.
She can hire them, but using the money from the 5.
It's gonna use the salary from the lap service that's already there. I'm saying that, but
I didn't say salaries, I said personnel.
same thing, if when you wanted to take it, is she got a salary for 6 people there.
Right.
And she can take that lap money, you said, pay this much she don't hire.
Correct.
I'm saying that very good.
Correct.
What I'm saying is, when she do that, in the thing still that she working over, and right now, we can't keep up with what the state is calling. So she was brought up before the board, but Wilson, North Carolina, got some people that already, a group of people that works, do nothing but this, that retired people. And she was talking about hiring some of those people in order to catch up. If you don't meet the deadline, you would mistake they find.
Correct.
Using a company that does this.
Yeah.
Right, okay, but those are, minimum $38 an hour.
So we don't want to go there. Yeah. But that's fine, we'll use it, you can use it outside, have no problem. But if things come back, I'm just going to understand that this will be. No problem.
So moving on to the health department full-time administrative assistant, $45,777. That's a salary of $31,680, and then the benefits associated with it. There's also a full-time environmental health specialist, total salary of $67,539 with the salary of $49,844 in benefits and retirement added into it and health insurance.
And environmental health specialists are hard to find.
Yes,
And the health department did a great job during COVID. As good as anybody around. But the health department's does not have home health any longer. So in my opinion only, I would be in favor of the environmental health specialist, but not in favor of the administrative assistant.
The environmental health specialist, that's where you were talking about combining all that stuff in environmental health.
yes,
Okay.
Who would be stepping up into these current environmental specialist spot.
yes.
I can go with the environmental health specialist. I'm not going to go with the administrative assistant.
Back up on the full-time environmental health, you said where that you were condensing positions. I thought we talked about that under the building inspector. Refresh my memory on the environmental health specialist. What were you doing?
So the current environmental health director would move up to central permitting director and replace the building inspector, the current chief building inspector. And then an environmental health specialist would be hired for that department to take on the responsibilities that the environmental health director was, some of the responsibilities, the field work that the environmental health director, central permitting director had been doing.
It confused me a little bit. So you are going to consolidate and have a central permitting director, but you're still replacing or adding another position in full-time environmental health. So we're got a net gain of one employee, even though you have consolidated positions.
You're not.
No, there's not a net gain of one employee.
Because the building inspector, you will leave it one off, that one person. That's just the two that are currently there. When the current building inspector retires. So you have a zero net gain. Or loss, whichever.
And he's scheduled to retire before long,
The building inspector,
Within the next 2 months.
yeah, so
within the next 2 months.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'll stick with what I said. Full-time environmental health specialist and not administrative assistant at this time.
Full-time environmental health specialist.
Further thought?
I'm good with the full-time environmental health specialist. I'd like to know a little bit more about the administrative assistant. Again, I love full-time.
Sir,
I go with the full-time, help.
I'll go with a full-time health specialist and not the full-time assistant.
Okay, moving on to administration. The HR director and training.
your HR director is retiring soon,
Yes. December 31st.
December 31st. And your action for this is to bring somebody in, get them trained so they can step in and we don't have the mess that we might have in other places.
Otherwise, yes.
Okay.
So are you saying this is a new position, but it eventually is going to not be, because when the other one leaves, you're not gonna add another one when she retires. So
That's correct. And we're gonna forego the admin position for 6 months until our HR director retires. So there'll be an additional savings of, I'm guessing, $18,000-$19,000.
I'm good with HR director.
I'm good.
Good.
yes.
Central permitting director. That's filling the chief building inspector's role now with the central permitting director. Promoting from within, there would be an increase in salary, current salary of about $10,000.
So was this,
Yeah, you could be confusing this with the full-time environment. That's where you're headed.
well, no,
Okay.
but yeah, that was a little confusing to begin with, but was this included in a budget? Right, it was included in the budget.
Yeah.
That's what I just want to make sure of that.
I'm good with it.
I'm good.
I'm good with one caveat. We need to make sure, because this is only gonna leave one in the building inspector's office, where as we stand today, there's two. According to the retiring building inspector, the one can handle the job, and building inspector. My fear is that our fire inspections should not go lacking. That at some point in time, there may be a necessity to part-time, a fire inspector, commingle some duties with somebody who is or will be a certified fire inspector. So I'm in agreement with the central permitting person, but just keep in mind, those of you who are going to be on the board, that may come up and we do not want to get caught under any circumstances not inspecting the schools, not inspecting the family care homes, not inspecting the businesses as is required. We just don't want to entail a suit because somebody has a fire, somebody's hurt, somebody's killed, and they ask for the inspection records and the inspection records aren't there.
Commissioner Master-Gill, are you saying that if this position is put in place, that you're suspecting we're gonna have another one on that road? That you're not gonna be able to do it with one person?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying we need to keep that in mind. I don't know how many building permits they issue right now. If building permits pick up or slack, could be dependent on whether that fire inspections are done. Excuse me. They're doing a good job right now. But there's two of them.
So what you're saying essentially is, when it comes down to being one, we anticipated this quite some time ago. That's the reason there's two now, two building inspectors. What you're saying is if they get behind on fire inspections, then the possibility of contracting some of it out.
Or contracted some of it out, or commingling a position like they did with the assistant, the deputy county manager, or somebody like that. That's just something to be thinking about.
You've got certification. to worry about there.
Well, we do have some that are getting through certification sometime early October.
Do you know by chance how many schools, have all the schools been for this year?
I feel sure he's done the schools.
That's
That's,
what I think.
the schools are the biggie. The schools and the family care homes and the assisted living homes, they're the ones that are required yearly. Businesses, depending on the business, are required every 3 years.
I think the county has done that.
Okay, now we have family services, full-time financial administration position. It's a grant-funded position. So here again, it is a grant-funded position. If that position, if the grant goes away, the county doesn't receive the money to fund that position, the position goes away.
As long as they understand that in family services, I'll go along with it. Hire whoever you want to. If that grant goes away, there we go.
I'm good with it. I'm good.
Yes.
All right, moving along to public schools request.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I really don't care about going through each of these because, you know, I would recommend we do what we did last year. Let them, you know, for instance, with capital outlay, I think it's what, what's it?
465.
465.
That comes from that sales tax money that has to go to capital outlay for school. So,
Last year, we gave them 2.6 million, 465 for capital outlay, and they were given 55,000 for a social worker last
yeah, we've done that social work for several
year.
years now.
So, in my opinion, we give them what we gave them last year and move forward.
I agree.
I agree.
Not giving 3,750,000 for the number.
That's giving them what we gave them last year.
The total amount would be 3,120,000.
No problem.
So moving along to special appropriations.
Which ones, I believe I know, but just so everybody knows, which of these have gone up from last year? I think Castle Parish has gone up.
Let me,
Did he give them- I can't remember if we gave them 10,000 or 15,000.
I thought it was 10.
Now they, I think, the one job, I think,
They do.
serve a lot of our citizens that we don't know, not just for food. I just want to know which of these have increased, so we know.
Castle Parish has increased by 5. It was 10,000 last year.
The rest,
And then the forestry was 74,579 last year. The animal shelter was 130 last year. Food council was 1,000 last year. And historical was 10,000 last year.
Cultural is what?
It stayed the same.
Okay.
what?
Horticulture stayed the same at 6. Historical was down to 10.
In the casual partnership for children,
Stayed the same, 3. 3,000 last year, 3,000 this year.
that's standing for the Arts Council,
Yeah, it stays the same.
saying,
And the increases here come out of ERPA money, basically,
no, they come out of general fund.
which is fed by the AR.
And tax dollars.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna just throw it out there and see where it goes. I would like to see them get what they got last year and nobody gets an increase. If we don't start looking at the outlays and spending extra money, it's gonna come back to bite a future board. There will be a tax increase in the future because we're gonna overspend. Give me your thoughts.
My thoughts are the animal shelters are busting at the seams all over because people can't afford to feed their pets. And I think it would be neglectful for us to not at least increase the cost. Everything they do goes up. Caswell Parish is the most utilized and underfunded special organization in this county. They help more people than most people in this county know. Now, the rest of it, I be quiet.
All right, let's go down the list. Arts Council, you want to leave it where it's at, or you want to give them 25?
Remind me again what it was.
2,500.
Still was
20, it is 2,500.
Yeah.
Give them the same.
say,
Caswell Parish,
It was 10,000, they're requesting 15,000.
and that's just for, that probably won't even pay for all the gas they use. Yes,
yes. What? I thought you said something. Grunt.
Well, I mean, I know this organization very well, that they provide citizens with clothing, with, you know, there's a fire. I mean, it's just so much they encompass that we don't know about necessarily. And I know we've given them $10,000 for the last few years, and I know we were able to give them some monies from our first download of money from the federal government. I think, I can't remember if we gave them what we gave them, but we did give them some. Yeah, I'm gonna say yes. They just do too much in the county.
Yes, I'll say yes to that.
Partnership for Children, it's 3,000 is requested. It's been $3,000 for the last several years.
Stayed the same.
Yes.
I'll say yes to the same.
I'm good. Yep.
Cooperative Forestry Service, $98,146.
What was that last year? What did you say?
It was 74,000.
74 last year, 74,579 last year.
The difference is and I'll just say from my perspective that forestry honestly only asks for what they need every year in capital and the money they use to operate within the county. They've always been very upfront and honest with the money that they've requested. They do a good job for this county.
and from my perspective in fire service, we sure are glad to see that green truck.
Yeah.
We're really glad. Also, that probably what a lot of people don't know, North Carolina Forestry Service provides $5,000 matching grants to each fire department in this county. And last year, everybody got the 5,000. So that was 50,000 that came back to the county for the fire departments. Of course, we had to match it, but I'm a yes on that.
Well, I'm a yes simply because of the initial attack vehicle. That's a capital outlay item to me that's not gonna be recurring.
Yep.
So I'm good with that.
Yes.
All right, that's good.
Animal Protection Society, animal shelter.
They want to go up. We give them 130 last year, going up 10 grand. I think you need to.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
No.
You a yes? David?
I'm gonna say no simply because I would like to do just, if we did anything, it would be 135,000, so. You got you. Four, right?
We got the 4. So I'm gonna say we give them 140.
140.
Is that what they asked? 144. What they asked for.
Local Foods Council requested 2,500. They've received $1,000 for the last couple of years. So there's an increase of $1,500.
So local food council, that is that your, that's not your Meals on Wheels kind of deal?
No,
No,
Is that
I'm
the
getting
soup
confused.
kitchen?
Huh?
Is that the soup kitchen? Where they serve soup
yes,
over here?
oh,
yes.
Is that the-
They also operate the farmer's market.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that's being headed up in large part by our cooperative extension director now. I believe he's taking the reins as chairperson for that organization. I think they're doing some really good things.
Sure was a lot of cars out there last Thursday.
Yeah.
It was packed.
I'm gonna say, since it's packed and seems like it's doing well, that we give them what we give them last year and move on.
What did we give them?
$1,000,
I agree.
Give them that fifty.
$1,000.
Still 15.
All right, we got 1,500 on the table. Start auctioning here.
I go with the first 1,000 that the gentleman to my right said.
I can go 1,000 or 1,500 either one. So,
I like Mr. Jeffries 1,500.
1,500.
Doing good out there.
They are doing a good job out there. And if you've never been to the soup kitchen, it's pretty darn good.
All right,
1,500.
1,500. We got shot, Mr. Dixon.
Okay, so next we have Caswell Horticultural Club. They're asking for 6,000. They received 6,000 last year.
Give them a sign.
it's good with me. I really would like to increase it, but I don't ask for that because I'm telling you, they do a lot of work
Well, I know they do a tremendous amount of work.
and they are very budget friendly, but I'm good with the 6,000.
But I ought to get more. They asked for 6.
Okay, Caswell Historical Association. They're asking for 20,000. They received 10,000 last year.
I say give them what they got last year.
I'll go
I'm good with last year.
Huh?
I'm good with last year.
They bring in a lot of tourists. That building is in desperate need of repair.
Would you consider 15 instead of 20?
I go with 10.
10? Huh?
20.
Where you at?
10.
You're a 10.
Okay.
You're a 10. You're a 20.
I go.
No, it's 10.
This one shouldn't be this tough, but that house is in bad shape. I gotta admit. 20.
10. I'm on 15.
You know. Who's got the calculator?
So let's agree, so
The calculator, you got the average here.
you can agree that the 20 is probably off the table. So your choices now are 10 or 15. Or you can split the difference for 12.5.
Come on, don't throw another one in there.
Let's
John
do-
said average it out.
15.
Let's do 15, David.
No, I say 12.5, 15 is not the middle ground there. of What all of us were saying, if you do the average, if you got what, 20 and 22 10s and a 15, it did come up quite 15, didn't it? Didn't you say 10? What do we got? 3 10s, 2 20s and a 15?
I can't keep up that fast.
Whatever that might be.
You're sticking on a 10.
I'm sticking on 10.
You're gonna be, Mr. Jeffrey.
I thought you said 12.5.
Well, we're going back the other way. I'm trying to get close. Can we all agree on 12.5, move on?
I'll
to that
agree on
one?
12.5.
Is that where you're at, 12.5? All right,
Okay, Commissioner, so the one thing we haven't spoken about today is the Ford Focus cars. It was not on the capital outlay request. It was not included in your original budget. The yearly cost for replacing all 8 of the Ford Focus vehicles is $38,000. $38,000. $38,000 a year to replace the Ford Focus vehicles.
All 8.
Yes,
38,000 a year,
yes.
something like that.
Wasn't that what I said? 38,000. I mean, that's what,
That's over a 4-year period.
yes.
We're already having trouble with it.
Every department that I've spoken about seems to be having the same issues with most, if not all, of the vehicles.
Which is transmissions mainly.
Well, it's the car jumping and bouncing. It seems like transmission. I would hate to think we have 8 Ford Focuses and all 8 of the Ford Focuses have transmission problems. That would speak to a very, very large problem for Ford. However, I did do some research on the 2017 Ford Focus, and it does seem like that model year 2016, 2017 did have some major transmission issues and just some overall issues with vibration and other things. I think we're at a point now to where we still have some equity in the vehicles. If we replace the vehicles now, we can capitalize on the equity. If we don't replace the vehicles now, we may not be able to capitalize on the equity in future years.
The 38,000, that was for all 8.
Yes,
So if you dropped it down to 6, I know it's not gonna make that much difference, but what would you be
hold on.
at 6?
If I say 6,000, say,
I've got it here somewhere. You just got to give me a minute.
8 was 36,000.
38,000.
So
Wait a minute, the 8 was 38,000. Okay,
And this is not already in, this is gonna be extra over and above everything else presented.
yes, so 103 clear. 103. 12. It's about 25,000. Let's say $27,000 a year
for 6,
for 6.
we'll say 27,000.
And let me go back to the other spreadsheet I had, the pretty spreadsheet that Jennifer put together for us. To date, this
It's 38, 38.8. 38,
38,000.
three quarters of 38 is 28.
Gentlemen, I would like to suggest, just throw it out there, see how far it gets, that we wait and see what the inflation does in this economy and whether or not we hit a recession, push this off until next year. It's not in the budget, it's extra money that's being added to it. We've got to exercise some kind of restraint and reserve, or it's gonna wind up coming back to bite future boards. They're gonna have to raise taxes, and nobody wants that.
Okay, so. Give me just a minute, commissioners. So commissioners, currently you cut out of the budget $945,481 in the tasks we've been through so far.
Cut out 900.
$945,481.
Where are these four focuses right now?
You got 2 at DSS, 3 at the health department, 2 at so the senior center being used to deliver Meals on Wheels, and one of those is my vehicle.
You would replace these with leased vehicles of similar size.
Well, they would be replaced by similar vehicles. I'm hoping they would be a little bit larger. That's one of the problems now with the vehicles.
You're not replacing them with SUVs.
Pardon?
You're not replacing them with SUVs.
Well, actually, they're being replaced with Ford Focuses, which is a smaller SUV type vehicle. Escapes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What did I say? Oh, I'm sorry, Escape, Ford Escape.
I say replace them.
All right.
Because they're gonna be worthless next year.
I'd say do 6 of them if you're gonna do. To keep that cost down as much as we can.
All right, here we go again. I say replace none of them.
How much the state contract on these escapes are 21,000?
21,500.
And I'll just throw this out. Do we have to put them on? Why not buy?
Well, I thought.
I know what we're trying to do, but I'm also thinking about down the road. There's no more, you buy them and you're done with that part of it. It's gonna be all new vehicles, not all necessarily buy all eight. But is that what we want to do? We want to put all our vehicles on lease as we go.
I think you're better off to lease. They go through that lease maintenance program and everything where our vehicles. You say they're on that maintenance program, but
You having the same discussion on those ballpark.
I'm at 6.
We're gonna average, I'm at 20.
Sorry, it took me a minute.
You're at 9.
So right now, we're at about 8.
You're at 9. How many do you think are all replaced?
Well, right now, I think we need to get at least 5 or 6. Got to. You gotta
All right,
cover
you're
them
at
all.
6. I'm at 6.
20.
Okay.
6.
Drum roll.
6.
All right. 6, 6, 6, 20, 6,
Zero.
0.
That's about the right average, John.
6. All right, I got a question. We had not talked about the attorney contract.
Okay,
That should be next.
okay.
What's your favorite?
I wasn't here. I did read the comments and the questions and the answers. I will say this, especially when I was chair. I always felt like I couldn't call Brian Farrell because of comments made by other board members saying, well, every time you call him, you're costing us money. I don't like that. I think any board member ought to be able to call the attorney if they have questions about something. We all try to go through Brian, I think.
Yeah.
And got to go to Brian. Brian's got to get in touch with Brian Farrell. And Brian Farrell may have to research and do what, go back with him. I can't remember what we called it,
Retainer.
the retainer. And I can't remember, how much more was that than what we,
250 more per month, the retainer.
The
And
retainer went to 3750.
It's a total of $78,000 a year.
no, if you went the way we're going right now, I think that's what it
Okay,
was.
I'm sorry.
Is that
So-
what you were asking?
no,
No.
if we go with if we went
The
the
full
other
thing.
route
The
where
full thing.
Flat rate.
there's no.
Is there a minimum time? I think he said so many hours for that 78,000. What was it?
200
16.
How much?
16.
Yeah.
16 hours per month. When you call him and you talk to him for 2 minutes and 12 seconds,
It's 15 minutes.
bills in 15-minute increments regardless. Okay, so if you call him 4 times and talk 3 minutes each time, you've just been billed for an hour.
Yeah, but there's no 2
I
minute
know,
comments. I'm
I
just
know
saying,
that. I understand that. Okay,
when we call or when I call, there's usually, I don't call for one thing. There's usually 4 or 5, there's usually multiple reasons that I'll call. I'll wait till I have a string of things to call about. I'm very conscious about that.
That's why, in my opinion, we put him on retainer. When I have to, if I feel like I need to talk to the attorney, I call Brian. I gotta wait till he gets 3 or 4 things lined up. Mr. Farrell's got to hunt stuff. It may be several days before I get an answer. And I feel like that like David said, each board member should be able to call him. And so I'm thinking you put him on retainer, I think it will pay in the long run.
well, when we look at that sheet you gave us, it was about that much every year anyway.
That's what I was thinking. I
give or
didn't
take a
get that
little bit.
sheet, but I was thinking we were close to
We're
that.
close to that.
It's about a wash and you get upside if you go with it.
And I'll remind the board, from the time I came, for the year previous to me coming, and the first year I was here, those years were about $97,000 a year. So it's still a $27,000 or $20,000 drop from those years.
Especially if we stay like we are, he goes up on those monthly retainer and the hourly rate. Not much, but he does what?
Mr. Miller, question.
Yes, sir.
With the expenditures for the attorney for this board, the tax collection and all the other legal bills that this county has incurred, at what point in time are we better off to hire a full-time attorney for the county than to keep doing what we're doing?
So I'm really glad you asked that. So one of the things that we've done is, and this was before my time, the county decided to contract out of house for legal counsel payments for foreclosures, for the foreclosure process. There's basically two methods that you can use for foreclosure. One of those two methods, you can use in-house people to do it. When you use your in-house people to do it, you cannot be reimbursed for the expenses incurred when you're doing those foreclosure. The second one is you hire an outside consultant to do it. The outside consultant handles the foreclosures, and they can be reimbursed for that. So we would not continue to see the revenues through foreclosures if we used an internal candidate, but we would still have many of the same expenses that we would if we did.
It's interesting you would say that because there was a conversation that was had, not in the open board, but we can have it now. Originally, when that contract was awarded to the law firm that's got it, there was no bidding process, nothing like that happened. From talking to Mr. Carter, which passed away, was on the board at the time. Rockingham County put theirs out for bids, and they take part of the fees that they bring in from that, and it's spent with the sheriff's department. They have extra revenue to pay for items that the sheriff's department incurs. Why don't we look at something like that in Cashel County? That contract comes up again in 2022. It shouldn't be just a rubber stamp that somebody gets that. We should be taking care of the taxpayers in the county and putting that out for bids and trying to get the best deal we can, because that is a legal avenue to proceed that. Now, in reference to what I was asking about the other issues, that's not the only legal expense we pay for as a county. What about the other sources we have farmed out? Could we have done it in-house with a full-time attorney?
So I want to continue on with that line of that train of thinking.
Go right ahead.
Currently, we also have, of course, our county attorney that we use. We have a DSS attorney, and I believe the county has tried to use a county attorney as a DSS attorney before. And if what I'm being told is correct, and I have no reason to believe it's not, it was a nightmare. A DSS attorney is a very specialized attorney, and the DSS attorney that we have now spends so many hours working on these DSS cases that a county attorney couldn't do the work of both a county attorney and a DSS attorney, not for what we deal with. That's my opinion. Would you agree, Mr. Jeffries?
Well, yes, the DSS attorney the county only pay 34% of this salary. State pays for that.
Okay. So
that's all we pay.
So we also use Sands Anderson, and Sands Anderson is our bond counsel. That's a very specialized type of attorney too. They have to issue opinions on things. And your county attorney, a county attorney can't do that. You have to be listed in a special book and have to have special training and have to be separate apart from the county to be able to issue those kind of opinions. So a bond counsel cannot do the same kind of work as a county attorney. Well, a county attorney cannot do the same kind of work as a bond counsel. We would still have to go out, even if we had an internal county attorney that we used full-time and paid them full-time salary, we would still have to go outside of the county to retain bond counsel. That's by state statute. So we've also used Womble, Bond, and Dickinson when we did when we were sued for redistricting. So when we used that counsel, that was a tort claim, i.e. somebody sued us and we had to defend ourselves. When we have tort claims, many times those tort claims are defended not by the county attorney, But because we pay insurance to provide relief from those kind of tort claims, they're defended by the NCACC risk pool and the attorneys they hire. So they do a lot of work with Womble, Bond and Dickinson. And because of that, we were reimbursed for those county costs. If we had used our county attorney to represent us in that litigation, we would have not been reimbursed for those costs.
And I was aware of that from the prior conversation with you.
Yeah. So we also use Sanford Holzhauer and the borough's law firm. We've used both of those in the Watershed Review Board. First of all, we used Sanford Holzhauer until they determined that they had a conflict of interest with their work with the Watershed Review Board. So they had to bow out of that. That's when we started using the borough law firm. The borough law firm, county attorney, okay. So there's an inherent conflict of interest with this. The county attorney is hired by the Board of Commissioners to represent the Board of Commissioners and county staff, right? So during the Watershed Appeals Board, the county attorney was representing the planning director as well as the county against claims that we inadvertently or wrongfully issued watershed appeals, the watershed appeals permits. So the county attorney cannot both advise the person who issued the permit and advise the Watershed Appeals Board, the board that's going to determine if or not we inadvertently issued that permit wrongfully or in error. So there's an inherent conflict of interest. That would be like a judge also representing the defendant. Basically is what we get to. So in each case, there's, if not statutory limitations, there's concrete reasons that we've used. The other one we used, the other, we've used one other one. Sanford Holzhauer, Wanda Bond, Fox Rothschild, and that was invested rights. You'll all remember when we were talking about vested rights, I gave you my opinion. The county attorney gave the board his opinion. And the board chose to engage Fox Rothschild to issue another opinion, which was basically the same opinion that I had given and the county attorney had given. But the board wanted it from an outside independent agency or person. They wanted a different legal opinion or another legal opinion. So in each case, there's reasons why we used the attorneys we used. We would have had to use those attorneys whether or not we had a full-time county attorney or not. We would have still had to look for outside help.
Thorough explanation. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, we need some yeses or nos. Retainer.
Yes.
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 No.
No. Are you a yes?
What's your answer?
Huh?
What's your question?
Retainer or not for the county attorney?
Oh, well, I don't know. I'll tell you, I've been thinking about that quite a bit, you know. Years ago, we had a county attorney was right here in the county. That represented us both. And it's about $600,000 every month. That's what he got. And we talk about an eyesight attorney, pay no tax. These people pay tax. I got nothing against the man. She's a good attorney and all, but I think it's something that we need to think about too, you know, we got attorney here in the county. You know, we had him for years. That's all we use, attorney right in the county, we had him for years. Until I think when the first attorney came out was, oh, yeah, our attorney, he wasn't an attorney, he didn't stay long, he wasn't an attorney. He know much more than I did. So I'm just put it to you that way. Then we got Curtis father. And he did not, his father did not take on foreclosure. He didn't take on nothing but for the boat in the county. And that's what's his salary. Now, Farrell take on more than his father did. His father made it plain to us what he wasn't gonna do when we hired. I don't think nobody on the boat, you know, when we hired. He made that plain, that's the salary that he got. And we did pretty good with it, you know. But now, you know, we pay Farrell every time he gets another lawyer, he goes with it, we got to pay him too, and the next lawyer. You follow me?
But if you put him on retainer, you're gonna have to do that.
Right, and if we have a lawyer here in town, I don't know about if I want to take it. I don't know whether it would or not. You know, but they pay taxes. They pay taxes. And you don't pay a mileage fee because it's already here. And that's some things I think we need to think about too. Oh, really look at passengers. That's just my opinion. I ain't got one. I ain't got one vote.
You or no? You're yes or no? No?
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm against, you know, but I'm not going to say we got to have a attorney. I wouldn't do it that way.
You were yes, you were yes, you were yes, and I'm yes. So put him on retainer. Think it's worthwhile.
We're gonna go back to.
What?
We didn't decide on the outlay. We did?
Yeah.
I don't think we did.
No, I don't think we did.
No, we didn't.
We said we were
We
gonna go
decided
through.
on the salary, but not the
Yeah,
outlay.
we decided on the personnel, but not,
Capital outlay request.
yeah.
When we decided on information technology, we said yes.
I thought we passed first.
You did one salary.
We did personnel,
We got that.
the capital outlay request. We went over them, but I don't, am I wrong? Did we?
We said we'd go over them and then go back to them and say yay or nay. That's what we said.
Okay.
My only question was, and I've expressed this with Mr. Miller, is the ag building security doors. But he says they've gone with it, I mean, gone over it, so best way.
Commissioners, if there's anything in any of the requests for capital that you'd like me to try to explain, I'm happy to talk through it with you.
I'll be with the package.
I do want to go back to the security doors for just a moment.
The ag building,
Yeah. Are they going to, for instance, when you turn right and go down the hallway, are they going to put doors there? Right before you get into those offices? Where are they talking about locating these interior doors?
So one set of the interior doors, if you walk into the entrance at the bottom, right,
All
and you walk in, there'll be a set of doors, you know, where the wooden swinging doors are to farm services now. Those wooden doors will go and the doors will be there. There may also be another petition across the hall that separates the kitchen area as well. Upstairs, it will be at the end of the hall. When you first walk in the door and you go down, it will be at the end of the hall. And both soil and water and cooperative extension would have the ability to buzz them.
Be covered by that one door there? Right?
Yes.
Okay.
more questions? What's the pleasure of the board?
Most all this was.
So commissioners, what we'll be able to do from the information you've given us this evening is we'll be able to go through the budget. We'll be able to provide you with a budget ordinance and you'll vote on the budget ordinance at your next meeting.
Which is
Wednesday.
Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock.
About to vote on what we were just talking about, the capital outlay project.
Yeah, we still got to do that.
Okay,
All right. Go down the list. Information and technology, you said yes. Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. I know. Maintenance, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Nightingale.
come back to me.
Mr. Ostraker.
Yes.
Yes.
No,
Still have an issue with the security doors, but I'm a yes
Mike.
on maintenance.
Sheriff's Department,
Yes.
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 I'm not a flat out no. I just think it ought to be pushed to next year when we have more idea of what the economy is gonna be. So I'll vote no to it on principle.
I said yes. Communications, yes.
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 No,
No. EMS, furniture,
And this was,
This is the beds.
The beds, yeah.
beds and all and furniture for the
bedroom.
employees.
yeah, we added a new shift
Yes.
on that. I mean, not a shift for the extra.
That's correct.
Yes.
you're yes,
Yes.
Yes.
yes. No.
no,
Farm Lake, the boat canopy. We start on the other side.
No, yeah,
Yes, yes,
Yes.
Yes.
yes, no. Health Department,
oh, I'm waiting on, what do we call it now?
Portico.
Portico, wow. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
no.
no.
See that? Right.
It's up to you.
Up to me.
Well,
That's what
I'm
you get when
talking
you wait.
about,
You swing vote.
Oh.
you want them out there in a tent when they get
No.
it.
Why don't you do it half wide, put it in the half.
Yes.
Emergency telephone service,
Commissioners, here again, that's state money, that's not
money.
county funded.
Yep.
And CAT's transportation is grant and enterprise money, that's not.
As long as it don't cost, I'm all for it. Go ahead. Yeah.
He votes yes on this.
Yeah, unless Brian's got something else for us.
No, commissioners, I really appreciate your work today. I can tell you put a lot of work into this and myself and the finance department appreciates the work that you have put into it. We appreciate you working with us and we'll have you a budget ordinance 8 o'clock in the morning on the 29th for approval.
We appreciate the finance office.
Coast Guard.
Those girls, they've done a good job under highly unusual circumstances.
They have, and I can't speak highly enough of Jennifer or Melissa. And while we're giving credit and praise where credit and praise is due, I'd also like to thank Melissa Williamson and Aisha Glenn. They've done a tremendous job over the last couple of weeks with the things that I've tasked them with to allow us the time to do this, and they participated in the budget process as well. So I think you're seeing a good group of folks come together and do good things for them.
Anything else? If not, we will meet Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. I'm assuming we're gonna meet here at the Coast Square.
Coach Corey.
Coast Square. Okay, 8 o'clock, Wednesday morning, Coast Square.
The library has programming. And that's the reason we cannot meet it.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor? All opposed, motion carries. We now sit